rape, attempted rape, enticing a child under 16, drugging for sexual intercourse, inducing a child into prostitution, statutory rape, possession of child porn, dissemination of child porn, and posing a child in a state of nudity. So you pretty much have all the bases covered.
And 3 convictions, Dan.
Yeah. And
We're not talking about one conviction. We're not talking about a 15-year-old child that was in love with someone in high school that was 18. We're talking about 3 convictions of these type of crimes. These are the sexual deviants in our society. And what it will do, it will save the state a ton of money. It will save the victims a ton of pain, and will save our society as a whole. Because it'll, one of the biggest things that I hear is, children. You're going to put a child on the stand. You're going to put a child on the stand. No one wants to put a child on the stand. But you know what? Most of the victims that I talk to want to go on the stand. They want to talk about it because it's their way of healing. And I think it's a thought process with our defense attorney, with really the whole process that they have to be protected. They can't go on the stand. Yeah. These victims want to talk about it. Yeah. If they get a good sentence and they're safe and they feel safe, they want to go up. They feel empowered. It helps them heal. And the ones that don't, they don't have to. But these bills, this bill in particular, 3 strikes you're in, will take these children and get them off the stand. Because when you have a child porn conviction, or if you have, most of those convictions do not involve the children. It involves child porn and child lewd and lascivious acts. It involves some other crimes. But you have to pack those on 3 times. So it's not like someone's getting convicted for the first time and they're going away for the rest of their life. This person who does these things are bad people, and they need to go away. So 3 convictions. We believe that it will be a great deterrent in our state because, if someone gets convicted, a judge can look them in the eye and say, you live in Massachusetts. You're in Massachusetts. If you get convicted 2 more times, you're gone. Your freedom's gone. And the same with the police departments, same with anyone that's involved in that type of situation. So we believe it will really, truly help as a tool. Not only will it do that, we believe it will actually help with reporting rates. Because when victims believe...
I think so. Well, it helps all the way down the line. I mean, here, the police do their job. And then, then the guy's back out on the road again.
Yeah, that's the problem. I know. And it's very frustrating for law enforcement,
And it's like people say that the laws aren't tough. No, the law, it's the enforcement of, the police do their job. Now you get some interesting language in here on one of your bills, and that's the, and so many laws are written like this, change the current penalty for rape from any term of years to a mandatory minimum of 15 years. So that, any amount of years, I mean, a judge has wide, and he can do anything they want. It is a problem.
Yeah.
It's a real problem.
I've actually also filed legislation to increase the statute of limitations on rape.
Yes, yes, 27
very important.
years now.
Yeah.
To how many years?
To 27 years.
27.
It's 15 right now.
Oh, okay.
In some cases it's been raised, but we need to raise it higher.
Absolutely.
So.
Let's bring Christine into the. We didn't forget you. Okay.
Save the best for last.
Well, we're saving the best for right now. Okay. Christine is a victim. Okay, and she came here of her own free will. She told me before the show to ask her anything. So, and she's actually been through quite an ordeal, and we just want, to put a face in front of it is very, to me, is the whole, that's what ties it all together. We can talk about this stuff till the cows come home. When you have to put a face to it and put an actual being with it. And Christine, so you've had quite an ordeal as a younger person, correct?
Right.
Okay. Right. And it roughly when you were 10 years old?
Yeah. That's when the molestation started. My father was my perpetrator, and he was also a deacon of our church. So we were very well known in the community. And look at your face.
No, I'm listening.
At first I didn't really understand what was happening. I knew it was wrong. It didn't feel right. I didn't like it, but yet I was told that God told my father, and to tell me that it was okay to do this. And so he used religion in with his own sickness. And it really confused me for the majority of my life. I mean, I really have a tough time with relationships, with God, with Father, with men. Because of all of that had happened, it started when I was 10, and it went until I was about 14. It was rough. It was rough. I told my mother. She didn't believe me. And I was a vocal kid. I was very, I was, like the cheerleader, the gymnast. I wasn't quiet, and I still got all A's. And it's almost like you disassociate with your body and your mind with what what's happening to you, and you just continue on in your life. And when your own parent doesn't believe you, what do? So when my sister a year later came forward,
And she's younger than you are.
and she's younger so she came forward, and it happened to her a couple of times. My mother went to my father, because she's my mother, and my mother went to my father, and he denied it, of course, and still to this day has not admitted to it, and he's still alive.
Wow.
And so, back in the 70s when this was going on, they didn't talk about it. It wasn't something that you discussed around the family table,
Right.
or even my friends didn't know. And nobody knew except for my mother. And because she didn't do anything, I was stuck. The one thing that she did do was put locks on our doors so that he couldn't come in late at night, but it didn't matter because he came in earlier, because that's where all the abuse happened. So that was her only thing that she did. She didn't take us out of the house. I still to this day don't understand why. She doesn't give me a good answer still to this day. There's no answer for that.
No.
It's crazy.
So you're somewhat close to your mother, or?
No.
No.
I'm close to her in a weird way. She's my mother.
She's your mom, yeah.
But she didn't protect me. And in order for me to move on in life, I became like a workaholic. I was constantly working, successful businesswoman, and didn't really deal with all of this until a little later on, because it kept popping up, in my head, in my relationships, and my dreams, and and everything. And I went to therapy and dealt with it, and had like a major breakthrough just a year ago.
So that was 20 years of therapy you went?
At least.
At least 20 years of therapy. And they had no real laws to protect you back then.
None. Not the police. I actually went to the police. I called them, and they told me to be quiet.
Oh, wasn't that wonderful? But and then unfortunately, that's the time. That's what it was.
Yes, yeah.
We've
And,
progressed quite a bit with
Yeah.
Thank God.
protected kids, and with groups forming like Joe, and then people like you coming forward
Yeah.
and being advocates.
Well, people like you will, something positive could come out of all this from your, you're going to testify, I guess, in the hearings.
I will be speaking, yes.
You will be, and
Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
you're
my
obviously
story.
very, very strong individual. You came here and you're willing to discuss it, and
Well, I feel that I didn't have a voice back then when it happened. I took the brunt of it, so my sister didn't have to take a lot of it. My cousin was also affected by it, and many more people. So that's where they're talking about repeat offenders,
Right.
total repeat. And, I couldn't do anything back then. I can now.
Well,
So I am.
there's strength in numbers, and you've got the numbers.
What a
So,
great attitude. I'm so proud of you.
Really,
and
I
thank
just,
you
I'm
for what
so,
you're doing.
I am
Very
so
proud.
impressed that you came down here. And Christine came down on her own. She wasn't, you weren't coerced to
No,
come down
no,
here. You were more,
no.
you came down here as a willing person to
Yes.
discuss this. And I just, I think it's important to put a face, behind it. I mean, we can talk about nuts and bolts here all night long. This is real. This
This is the
a
face
person.
of a victim. When people think of victims, they think of like people that, down the dumps on the Boston Commons, hanging out, can't work, drug
Crazy.
addicts with a crazy nuts. Well, you know what? Who wouldn't be crazy after going through this? But the majority that I know that have come forward to me, because I have opened up more about it, are all like hidden in the closet, and they're professional people, and they look like
Look at Senator Brown.
Yeah,
they look
there
like
you go.
Scott Brown, they look like
And
Christine Lozier.
that's one of the challenges of getting that education out there
Yes.
like you guys
Exactly
do,
right.
because people see children and they go, well, she looks okay, she looks normal,
Right.
and they think that there could never be anything
Who would-
wrong.
who would-
Absolutely, and that's
who would guess?
exactly
What happened to you.
Exactly.
Right.
Who would guess?
Right,
You're,
it's
you're
true.
the cheerleader, you're this, you're that, and
It's true, and that's the other part of our organization that
hard.
we work so hard on. Just as hard as we work on the legislation, education, we believe, is just as important, if not more important. And we have to prevent the crimes. We have to teach children that they're safe to say something, and not be in situations like Christine where they can't say anything and they feel... I mean, Christine is strong. She's a strong victim. What about the ones that aren't? What about the ones that kill themselves? Or what about the ones that turn to drugs? I mean, this problem, this epidemic, the tentacles are reach so far in our society. Victims, 20% of child abuse victims turn to be abusers. If we don't stop this now, someone's going to have to deal with it. We need to deal with it as a society. We owe it to our children. Right. Then you have the 2/3 of victims that turn to drugs and alcohol. So when you talk about, our jails are overcrowded, no one ever stops to ask the drug addict, why'd you do it? Why are you doing drugs? I venture to say that the majority are abuse victims. Not all of them, because you can't paint with a wide brush,
Right,
but
yeah.
a good
I'm sure
amount
there's some.
are have lashed out in violence because they're not heard, or they turn to drugs and alcohol, they turn to be abusers. I mean, this is a problem that really, really needs to be addressed right away. And we're working so hard to teach the community about the warning signs. We passed out 32,789
Yes.
flyers just on a couple weeks ago, and had the help of some fantastic representatives all across the state. And we didn't pick 32,789 numbers out of the sky. Every flyer was a tribute to the amount of children that were abused and neglected last year in our state. 32,789. Now, you have a beached whale on Cape Cod that's on the beach, and you have 3 weeks of media coverage. Yet we have 32,789 children that are confirmed abused. Not reported, that's 71,000. Confirmed abused and neglected, and people don't even know.
Yep.
People don't know that our state has been #1 in Massachusetts since 2007. 3 years, because the numbers haven't come out for 2010 yet. We've been #1, and Massachusetts changed the way they calculate it, because they want, it's going to be manipulated at this point, because we're calling it out and we're saying, hey, we've been #1. It's great to be #1 in schools, it's great to be #1 in healthcare, but it's pretty disgusting to be
Right,
#1 in
because
child
you
abuse.
do now. I see some facts here that we rank #1 in the nation for confirmed cases of abuse and neglect. Child sexual abuse is an epidemic in our state. Okay. Now, repeat sex offenders cannot be rehabilitated. That's
Well, we don't believe so.
you don't believe so.
We don't believe so. I mean, if you continue-
There's not a track record for that.
The reporting rates are so low.
Okay.
That because
so-
victims are ashamed, embarrassed, humiliated, they don't come out. They're not going to come out when you have weak sentences that we have that are terms of any term of years to life. Who's going to come out at that? We just had a basketball coach convicted and sentenced for 5 years probation for 100 counts of child abuse.
I mean, you often find that when someone finally gets caught, they've had many victims.
Well, that's the next one here. Sexual offenders are 4.5 times more likely than other criminals to be rearrested for sexual assault. So there's your fact right there.
That's
There's-
low reporting rates.
Yeah. And the average sentence for convicted rapists was 11 years, while the actual time served was 5.
Yep.
So that's That's where Shaunna
shame.
comes in. Shaunna and the
I
gang.
mean,
Absolutely.
that's just a terrible number for
It
someone
is.
who has
So
raped a
obviously you're
child.
pleased with these goings on. You're very pleased that people are taking up this cause and working to prevent it from other, so that people don't have to live what you lived through.
Yes, there are going to be